Hi, I'm Bob Sweeney here with Dodgeland head football coach Doug Miller. We're going to talk about the upcoming 2018 football season for Dodgeland. Hi, Doug.
Hi, Bob.
How are you?
I'm good.
All right. Before we get into this upcoming season, why don't you just give a rundown of what happened last season?
Well, last year we finished second in our conference to Marcus Ann, sort of a repeat story of the couple of years before also. We ended up 6-3. We lost our opening game to Stevens Point Pacelli, and that was sort of a last-minute deal. It was a great game, and they beat us in the last couple minutes, or last minute or so. But it was a good game for us. We had good competition. We were able to find some things out about ourselves, and we lost to a really good Pittsville team that had a nice senior class and a good program. And then we lost to Marcus Ann, but we won 6. We got ourselves in the playoffs. We're the number 5 seed and went over and played Johnson Creek and picked up a playoff win there. Got ahead a little bit, and they caught up, and we held on, and that too was a great game. And then we got beat by St. Mary's Springs, who was a better football team. And we had them 7. We were down 7-0 with 6 minutes to go in the second quarter. 4th and 1 on our own 30-yard line, and the quarterback ran a keeper and went 70 yards. And as he went in the end zone, the floodgates sort of opened up, and they scored a few more. I think they scored 3 more before half.
Oh my!
And it was all of a sudden it was 35-0 at half. But they were a first class team. I think they went on to win it.
They did, yeah.
So.
Okay, so how many guys do you have out total for all 4 grades?
We have 35 right now, with 1 or 2 that are just starting to go through some things to join us. So.
Okay, so potentially 37?
Potentially.
Okay.
All
right.
I mean,
how does that number compare with or contrast with the last few years?
We're right about the same as we were the last few years, and there's a few kids in school that we'd like to have out, and we let them know that they're welcome and we'd like to have them, but
that's a recurring refrain.
It's tough, you try to sell what you're doing is good for them, and that they'd enjoy being with their teammates and they're capable of doing it. But in the end, it's their personal decision, and that's what we can do.
How many seniors?
We have 9 seniors.
That's pretty good, isn't it?
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Yep.
And juniors?
Juniors, I believe we have 7.
Okay, that's not a bad group for
That's
varsity.
a nice mix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we're a little lower on the sophomore numbers, and we've got, we're picking up a freshman that's moving back into the district, so we'll be back to 12 freshmen.
All right. What would you like to talk about first for this year's team?
Whatever you want me to.
Offense.
Offense. We like offense. Let's start where it all begins.
Yeah.
Our offensive line has had a nice off season.
Off-season meaning what?
They from last November until this August, they have increased their strength in a considerable fashion.
Okay.
So a lot of them have jumped their bench 60 to 80 pounds.
Oh my.
They've worked hard, and it's got them believing that great things should happen, and that's where the game. I really believe that's where the game starts, with your offensive lineman.
For offense.
But the whole game starts with your offensive lineman. If they play well, you keep the ball, you have field position, and put your defense in a better position.
Yeah.
It's just where I believe it makes the difference.
Who do you have at center?
We have Kane Smeedema. Kane started last year. He's a little lighter.
Lighter than last year?
Yeah. He lost a little. He's lean. He's 185 pounds, 190. So he looks good. He's lifted hard. He'll have a great season, and I place a lot of value on a center, and they've got to be one of my top 2 linemen, because somebody's going to put a good nose guard over him, and they got to be able to handle that.
And he started for you most of the season last year.
He started the whole year.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
All right. Guards?
Guards, right now, Mason Hilsman is at right guard. And Mason's one of those kids that really did a great job in the off season and his lifting. And then the other guard, Anthony Brugger, returns as the left guard. And I think Anthony, if he didn't start all the games, he started at least the last 7.
Mm-hmm.
But I know he played those first couple games. We might have had a rotation going or something to look at a couple different kids. But
so your interior line is all seniors?
Interior line seniors.
Number 21, and they'll give off a strike off the left side, cutting back, and he's into the end zone. Touchdown, Dodgeland.
We moved Ryan Nye from left tackle to right tackle. And Ryan, as we know, is an awfully good athlete, a competitive kid. You know, he's 182, 85 right now, and very strong. I mean, so,
why did you make the move?
We foresee other schools putting their best defensive linemen on our offensive right side, because I have a tendency to want to run that hole more, and that's where I need to have what I consider my nastiest lineman. That's
Okay.
gonna do that. Last year he played left tackle, but there's no doubt he needs to go over to right tackle. He'll see some kids that are combative like he is, and we needed his temperament over on that side.
Okay.
And then left tackle, right now is Alex Nelson. Alex is a sophomore, and he's a young sophomore. He's 6'2", 265. Hilsman's 265. Brugger's 240. And he's had a real nice camp, doing a nice job. We're sort of waiting for Christian Nunez, who's another big sophomore. He's got a sore small back right now, and we're just giving him some time to stretch out and get healthy, and not try to hurry him along, because we'll need him as we go through the season. So those 2 kids will compete over on that left side, and then defense. I mean, we're going to be needing to use both of them one way or another. So,
Okay. As I was going over last year's game in preparing this video, I always have to take a look at the linemen. I have to slow down the video and go frame by frame to see exactly what they're doing. I was very impressed. Those guys were juniors last year.
Yeah.
And they did a really nice job. And I figured, boy, I always think, like you say, the game starts with the line. You've got these guys coming back with experience, bigger and stronger. That could really lead to some good things, couldn't it?
We certainly hope so. I mean, when my previous years somewhere else, I think we valued our offensive line quite a bit, and the lifting and the strength. And I'd rather have a great offensive line than great anything else, really, because they can make everybody look good.
Yeah, sure, okay. Good. Where else?
Well, our running backs, sort of a neat situation here is we've got 2 running back positions, if you don't really, and the wing back is sort of a running back receiver, and 3 returning starters. Nate Astrike, 1,200-yard kid last year as a sophomore, didn't play full-time the first 2 games. He was still competing for the position.
10 from the fort as A-Strike shoots up the hole again, spins past, a first down and more, and he's...
And then Dakota Grunberg was our fullback.
Fine. Here's the give up the middle, and I believe that was Dakota Grunenberg. Pittsville as the run up the middle, a counter to Dakota Greenenberg, and he rumbles downfield for a first down.
Cody. Woo!
But the year before, Peter Mountain was our fullback, and Peter had a really good sophomore year. And now Peter's back into football, and we got some nice backs. I mean, two of them are 210, and the other one's 205, and they've all lifted hard. They've all have numbers as good as the linemen. They could be a nice group.
You know, once they got into the second or third level, they ran over people.
They're strong runners, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was last year. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, we're expecting better things.
Yeah.
You know, that it's a nice situation there.
So you're seeing A strike as you're going with an I formation again this year?
We're running every play that we have out of I and T formation.
Okay.
And because we've got these experienced backs, I mean, it makes no difference to the lineman if we're running a off tackle second back through the 5 hole, you know, or through the 4 hole, or it makes no difference to them in how we line up.
Right.
But then we can run some plays a little better out of a T, and we can create some problems because it won't be as predictable as having an offset fullback. Gives people two things to scout with, and yet we've got these experienced backs that doesn't bother them in the least where they line up.
So you have a quarterback?
We have a quarterback, and I've been anxiously waiting because I think he's gonna really have a nice year. And the kid is Ty Bader, and he's level-headed. He's worked hard. He's put his time in. He gets better every practice. He's very conscientious, and he's got some talents. You know, I mean, he throws a nice ball. He listens. He takes care of the ball well. So I think he's going to give us a very nice quarterback that's going to be able to utilize our skill positions and keep us out of bad stuff. But I see him making some big throws and some big plays.
And what grade is he?
He's a junior.
Okay. So he was your JV quarterback last year?
Yep, and he was our backup.
Wingback?
Wingback, two guys that are working there. Seth Christofferson. He moved into our district and last year and played about half of the season after they sort of got used to what school was about here. There's 3 boys in the family, and they all came out for football then. Seth plays point guard on the basketball team. He's a good athlete. He's shifty. He's a tough kid. And then Cameron Nelson.
What grade is he?
He's a junior. And then Cameron Nelson is a junior. Cameron last year had our fastest 100 time in track. He ran a shade over 4.5 in the 40. Cameron brings a lot of things to the table. Cameron will also probably go in the backfield a little bit too, but that gives us 2 kids that we can look at, but yet either kid could play a tailback or they could play in that split veer set. I think Seth will back up Zach Younger at wide receiver. So
Okay.
good kids, yeah. And then Younger is our returning wide receiver. Last year we were forced to use him at tight end. Jordan Marsh had to miss some games. He got hurt a little bit, and so Zach moved to tight end. When Jordan came back with the last 2-3 games, we were able to, use Jordan on offense, but then also be able to bring Zach from split into a double tight set and then split them out. And that takes away some of the predictability of always going to a tight end. Lets us get some protection backside. So Younger's a good target there.
When he did play tight end, he had some very good success just finding the open spot between the linebackers and the safety/corner. There's an open area, and Cody Nails was able to just pop the ball right away. That looked like a more consistent play for him last year than some of the other things that they did. Would you agree with that or disagree with that?
He was real good at it, and we took advantage of it at just a shade under 6'4", and and a smart kid, and we had a decent running game that we'd do a little play action and then let him find the opening, and we worked pretty hard on that in practice to try to make eye contact with your quarterback and to get in the little pockets that are available, in which you got to have a kid that can do that, because that place changes depending on how their defense reacts.
Well, he had one of the very best high school catches ever last season. That was against Canberra Friesland, was it not?
I can't remember. I mean, I've seen quite a few out of him.
It was right down to the end zone. It was close to the end zone, headed toward the school end zone. He reached up with his right hand, knocked it down, and brought it in.
Yeah.
It was it was Canberra Friesland, because the radio station was here, and those guys were just going nuts about how good of a catch that was.
Here's Nails. Here's the pass. Going down the sideline over to Zach Younger, who makes an unbelievable catch. What a play! Going down the sideline over to Zach Younger, who makes an unbelievable catch. What a play! Oh my goodness! A one-handed catch.
Yeah. And he's made some. I mean, those are the things that we're real comfortable that we expect him to be able to catch it if he's near him. His sophomore year, he had even a nicer one against Palmyra, where he had it turned around and caught it on his hip and never broke stride. All
right. So who did we forget?
Well, we talked about the tight end with Dakota.
Cody. Woo!
If we want to use Dakota in the backfield, our best option is to move Younger to the tight and move Christopherson out to the split. And that's one area that we're looking at, trying to develop somebody, whether it's one of our linemen. If the two sophomores come around, I can afford to slide one of the linemen out to tight end part of the time, or somebody just develops for us a little bit.
By watching the lineman block preparing for this video, I noticed really good downfield blocking by your ends, by your guards when they didn't have anybody on. They got down and they stayed on as much longer than I've seen in the past. Is this something you've been working on a lot?
As here's the run, Matt Moynihan with a lead blocker ahead of him. Moynihan's got a lot of space. What a block by Nate Strike, and Moynihan walks into the end zone. Touchdown, Dodgeland.
Well, my first year, I don't think we emphasized that enough or got that point across. And during the off season, I remember talking to Topher Justman about the Partyville kid that just stayed on you, and Topher took that to heart. And now anytime we want somebody to recognize the value of a receiver, we just flip on huddle, and when Topher was playing there, and it's it's one of those things that, just like any other position or any other sport, when kids see success and they imitate it, it almost perpetuates repeat actions year in, year out. But that's where that sort of started. Topher's senior year, he was
Bulldog,
he was really good. He was all over the place and blocking until the whistle blew.
Yeah. I noticed really good blocking for a sustained period by Schmidt last year.
Yes.
And by Younger last year.
Yep.
Those two guys really stood out there. But there were other guys. Your guards did a really nice job, I thought, going downfield.
Yeah.
Getting
our
on linebackers and just staying right with them.
Yeah.
And that opens up holes that now these running backs are in the third level.
Right. And, you have to develop the idea with kids that even the guy on the backside of the play, when he comes, when we watch our film and he comes across and makes a tackle,
Right.
and our guard was supposed to get out in front of him, and I think that's the value of the film too, is they can see that one good hit and then turning and watching,
Yeah.
But to their credit, they take that to heart and they take some pride in what they're doing.
Okay. Is that all the offense?
That is our offense.
Okay. Do you have a defense?
We do.
That's a good thing.
Yes. Yes. Defense, headed by our defense coordinator, Tom Selkert, Juneau guy. We should return a good number of kids here. I think offensively, I'm trying to think when I wrote that up. But we'll start in the secondary on this one. Younger returns third year at safety. He was all-conference safety his sophomore year. We put him up more as a tight end last year.
What?
Tight end, younger, because he had played tight
Oh,
end and had a lot
on tight end.
for all-conference.
Oh, I see what you mean.
But I mean, he was an all-conference as a sophomore, and you know, if we would have highlighted him, probably could have returned that way. But him and Moynihan both played safety, so if you put them both up, they'll steal votes from each other, and you know, just something you got to look at. But he's awfully good back there. Covers a lot of ground, and then he's going to have 3 new guys with him, and they've had nice camps, and I think they're good athletes and ready to play varsity. But that's the area that we're most concerned about, because you know, if your outside linebacker makes a mistake, your safety and your corner cover for him, and it's a 12-yard gain, and we line up and we go again. Secondary guys don't have anybody behind them that are on our team, at least. You know?
Oh no.
You know, and so that's, you know, it's real important that early they understand to keep wide and keep deeper than everybody and force teams to play in front of them. We got Cam Nelson at one corner. And Seth Christofferson at the other.
With the clock running, pitch out here to the man in motion. Nice penetration here by the Trojans, and they stop him for a loss. Low snap, deep pass, and intercepted.
And then Julian Thull is the other twin safety with Younger. And we're going to come out of a 4-3, maybe a 3-4, which is, you and I, a 5-2 type look, but with those ends as more wide, because we're wider outside linebackers, because we're facing a lot of teams that'll play a spread offense. And so we got to have 4 secondary guys. Got to have the ability to do a cover 4 or a matchup, you know, man to man.
Let's talk about that a little bit. It seemed to me that the last few years, other teams have been throwing against you a lot just because they couldn't run.
Yeah.
Last year, maybe some teams did run against you a little bit better. Obviously, Pittsville did. But that does force you to change your defense a little bit, doesn't it? Because they are throwing against you more.
Yeah, and how they're throwing, you know, how they're lining up to throw is probably the bigger thing we have to change.
A lot of 3 wideouts in the same side.
3 wideouts or a twin formation.
Yeah.
You know, Marcus Ann, my second year, when we lost to them, we were in a cover 3 and they had their wide 4, and they would just run the 2 guys up the sideline and then the 2 inside guys down the hash marks and just look the safety one way and throw the other. And right there and then we got to emphasize we got to be in a cover 4 when, you know, and now Palmyra Eagle does that kind of stuff. Husisford does that kind of stuff. So we've had to evolve to what our competition presents, you know, as far as just our defensive formation.
Yeah. Well, last year you had 2 seniors at cornerback that just did an outstanding job. Schmidt was one.
Schmidt and Derek Anthol.
Anthol he's unopposing on the team, on the field. You just don't notice him, but he's making play after play after play.
And he's keeping everything in front of him,
Yeah.
even against people that are faster and forcing.
So you going to have guys like that?
Yes.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, you always miss those good seniors have done a nice job for you. But it is a game that rotates, and
Yeah.
these kids are ready to do their job. I mean, it's just
Good.
yeah. So
All right.
and then Ty Bader's also working back there, and Ty I can use just about anywhere defensively, and I will. But as a quarterback, I'd rather spot play him for somebody that needs to rest than to get him on the field right away, and distract him from what he's doing offensively a little bit.
All right.
But if he has to play a full game, he certainly is capable of playing outside linebacker or in the secondary.
How big is he now?
6 foot, 170, 75.
He's grown quite a bit since his
Yeah.
freshman year.
Yeah.
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 Good. All right.
So our linebackers, Dakota Grunberg returns as a third-year starter in the middle. Looks good, looks confident, just talking, saying, working with his teammates, and he knows, he understands what's going on, so he's very willing to help a lineman get in position and stuff, and he's got good experience. He'll lead that front group.
And here's Wild going off the pass, intercepted over the middle to Connor Greenberg. And the quarterback brings him down. Wild, but what a play!
Starting at outside linebacker, if we were starting today, is Mountain on one side and A-Strike on the other. So, and then we've got
Dodgeland 3 men down as a as play. And here's another toss to the outside. Prochnow is brought down. It's Nate A-Strike. 3 off to the left, and they're going to call the trips on this. As here's Wilde looking off to pass. Pocket breaking down, and he's brought down. Nate A-Strike, number 44.
kids like Ty that can come in. We've got a sophomore kid that we like, and Dominic Schultz that could play. We've got some other kids. Connor Arndt should be ready to help us. That maybe if those 2 running backs need a little bit of a break, we can do that with them. But it's a nice looking group when they're out there. I mean,
Okay.
Defensive line, Ryan Nye was all conference defensive end.
Gee, I can't imagine why.
I can.
Holy cow. He
Ryan-
was a one-man wrecking crew in some place.
Ryan has a great motor, and expect big things out of him this year, even more so than last. Our defensive.
Prochnow under center for the Hilltoppers, and a run up the middle, nothing doing. Ryan Nye in there, number 52. Here comes motion across again. This is a quarterback keeper again, and he's brought down. Good work from Ryan Nye.
Tackles. Mitchell Crutkin played quite a bit for us last year.
And here's the give up the middle, and nothing as he's able to cut around the corner, but still good work by the interior defensive line. Line shotgun formation for Prochnow. Here is the handoff up the middle, and a couple yards for Quaid.
But then Anthony Bruger and Hillsman. I think we'll use Smeedema at an end. And you got the 2 big sophomores that both can play tackle for us, and Nelson and Nunez. So we got a nice group. A little bit of a eye-opener last night at practice. Alan Perrell just decided to step her up. And
I don't know Alan.
Alan's a junior, and
So he
he's sort
played
of
last
quiet-
year in
he's
the
sort of-
junior varsity?
Yeah,
He's a lineman?
Yeah, he's sort of a
Okay.
quiet kid, and he had an interesting practice, and he's 5'6", 275.
Oh my.
But he could give us some added depth and help. He opened our eyes. We'll see tonight. We have our first day of full contact tonight now, so we'll learn a little bit. But I was real pleased to see that he raised his level and gave us another kid that we're going to have to look at.
Okay. Is that everybody then?
Yeah.
Special teams.
Well, A-Strike returns as our punter. Younger returns as our long snapper. Those are good things.
Ramirez is back deep as A-Strike gets away a booming punt down just out of bounds. Nicely placed punt.
Beta returns as our holder. That's another good thing. We really don't have much of a kicker yet.
Oh, but you were spoiled the last 3 years.
Yeah, I know, and we got we might be able to get that back too. We're working on a few things, but yeah, we were spoiled. I mean, Zach Forden did a real good job for us. Schmidt really did a nice job for us last year too, and but yeah, we've worked him a little bit. We may be squibbing the ball on kickoffs, and
are you scouting the soccer team?
I don't see them much, so. Yeah. So we're still that's a work in progress right now for us. It might be a year of going for two, at least for a while. Until we get one really ready to do that. I'm bringing my kicking shoes, my two square toe shoes that I have. I'm bringing those out tonight.
Kick straight ahead.
Yeah.
Inline kicker.
Just lock your foot and tap and get her through. Not that hard. I used to do it. Yeah.
Well, kicking's a hard thing to do. Kicking and throwing.
Yeah.
All right. You have some return people.
Yeah, Moynihan, Schmidt did a lot of returning for us last year, but A-Strike did as a freshman, and he was there. He didn't get a lot of balls kicked to him. Kick return, we got a lot of like Cam Nelson and A-Strike, Seth Christofferson. We got some kids with speed that can return kicks.
On a couple shorter kicks from other teams, Grunberg was able to get the ball. He really had a couple nice returns from that left side where he got able to get the ball.
Well, he's a baseball player, so it was a clean pickup, and then he's a running back, straight line guy. Wasn't looking to dodge to make people, but take it right ahead and find an opening. And yeah, I mean he's just a heady kid, and that's the kind of guy we sort of put him in that second wave. So when it squirts by the lineman, we've got some kids that have some hands and a little understanding of what to do with the ball. Our punt returners, right now, I think I would put Younger there because he can field the ball so well. And
You have one deep person?
that's what we normally do, and we could do a double if we wanted to.
It seems as though you have more balls hit the ground if you have just one person back there.
We've talked about that one too, and you're right, because our punters in our league are not very consistent.
Exactly.
So we may go two people back just so we can set up a nicer return with one, but
if the ball hits the ground, then you don't know where it's going.
Oh.
And if you catch it, at least you got a spot where you can get a few yards.
Get a few yards, yeah. I mean, and that is something we've talked about, and I've looked at that. It would be nice if we'd have somebody just punt the ball down the middle, catch it, but it doesn't happen very often. And like with A-Strike punting, his yards per punt was not up there in the upper leagues, and yet he has a big, powerful leg. But we asked him to place it away from people so much last year. We gave up a little yardage. We didn't have anything in the line of return. So.
But on the other hand, he had some real nice kicks out of bounds.
Right. That's what we're looking at.
Exactly.
Keep it away from the return man. Keep it on the sideline. Let us surround it. And he was very consistent at that. He would. He would work inside the 20, so we'd try to land it on about the 12, give or take a little air. He was
You know,
He was good at
normally when you have a punter in high school who's trying to place the ball, they tend to go to one side. But it seemed to me he was able to take it
Yeah.
either side. And that's just a big, I would think that'd be very valuable.
Yeah, and it was, you know, and like I said, sometimes you give up a little bit of distance on your average, you know, but
But if
you
you're on-
really stay away from big plays and you pin them in and.
Yeah, if you're on your opponent's 40-yard line
Right,
and you're
well, then-
punting,
right, you
you're
don't
not
want
going to
it
get
in the end
yeah,
zone, right.
exactly. So you're going to give up distance there.
Yeah, it's one area I think the pros have sort of let go. They try to hang it up by the
Yeah.
goal line. I often wonder why they don't hang it up by the goal line right in the corner.
Yeah.
Then they have a couple options. They can skip out of bounds, or their guy can
Right.
down it. But
Yeah.
if you put it down the middle, it can be fair caught, or it can skip in the end zone, but you don't have that sideline
Right.
to work with.
All right. Anything else with that?
I think we got her.
Okay. Do you have coaches?
We do. It's good coaches. Mentioned Tom Selkert, and Tom has been defensive coordinator with me. Now this will be his 5th year. Tom does a very nice job, and he's really embraced the position. He spends a lot of time on film. He's online doing, you know, he's doing his homework. He's really been a good person for me to have around, and being in that same ballpark age-wise, we think alike, you know.
Old school? Is that what you're saying?
It could be, yeah. I hate to be the only old school guy. We have Quinn and Derek Pieper. They give us that exuberance, that fun young guy. Both have college experience, and you know, their dad was a coach. I mean, they love being involved in the fall and do a really good job. Both are good in the weight room. And then we picked up a 5th guy that's volunteering with us, a gentleman by the name of Paul Scheel. And Paul played for me in Waterloo in the early 90s, was the strongest high school bench kid I've ever had, but probably more importantly, one of the best kids I ever had, and one of the best young men. So Paul is here. He's working to get into education. He's student teaching here this year, and I think
So what position did he play, or what is he coaching?
Paul was an offensive lineman, and he's got a very good background on lifting programs. High school, he would go around to any competition open to high school kids. And he remembers there was one in Dodgeland back then, and Paul won every time he went anywhere. He had about a 410, 415 bench.
Wow.
Yeah. I think his top after school was about 425 or 525. Repped over 50 at 225.
Oh my.
Yeah. So, but he's kept up with technique and programming, and Paul coached our throwers in track and field this year. So he's got a chance to get to know the kids, set up some programs for them. I think he was the big reason why we took a nice jump in the weight room this year. He worked with kids during summer school time, volunteered a lot of his own time. So,
Well, good.
never hurts to surround yourself with good people. You know,
So you have some teams to play against. Who's your first opponent this year?
we play Stevens Point Pacelli here. They liked the evenness of the matchup last year. We did too, and just, you want to continue this and come down to ours, and they were like, yeah, you know, this was a good game for them. So they'll be a good opponent. They got some very good kids back. I mean, they only graduated some, but so do we. You know, so they run a good program. I think staff-wise, they're good people. Next, we play Cambria Friesland, and Jim Bilesma and I go back a long way. That's always Cambria always puts a good product on the field.
They were pretty young last year,
They're pretty young last year.
so you expect a better,
Oh yeah,
much better team this year.
yeah. They'll be a good team.
Mhm.
You know, and I'll guarantee you they've worked hard in the off season too. And, so
Okay. First conference game.
we go over and play at Palmyra Eagle.
They made a big step up from the first time they were in the conference to last year. They played a much better game last year.
They did. They did. We fumbled the ball 4 times to them.
Ouch.
Yeah. You know, that contributed, and then we had a late field goal block that they returned for a touchdown. So I think we played better than how it looked on the scoreboard. But they always have athletes, and I think they got another new coach again this year, and
Is this the third in 3 years?
I think so. But I think they're a team that you got to look out for, because they do have athletes there, and they do have athletes that lift, and you know, they had some nice kids that were underclassmen. Most of their backfield, quite a bit of their offense was all underclassmen last year.
Okay.
So that'll be fourth game. We go over and play Marcus Ann.
This sounds a lot like the
It's last
week.
year's schedule. They didn't rotate it at all last 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Our conference commissioner decided to run the same schedule 4 years in a row, because we had Palmyra and Parkview coming in, and they thought, well, a consistent schedule, or I don't know if it was an administrator that requested that, but yeah, it's a little
Yeah, a little odd.
repetitive,
Yeah.
but it doesn't matter when you play anybody anyway, so it just goes right down. Then we have a non-conference game, which we're going up to Pittsville, and then we will.
What kind of a team do you expect
Well,
this year?
they're well coached, but they were really loaded senior wise, you know, and so they'll be very good. And we'll see if they replenish their supply quite. But those kids, you know, the head coach's son was their quarterback. They had a guard defensive end like nobody we saw all year. He was a block, and
But you know,
yeah.
being a wrestling coach and seeing Pittsville, they always just have some guys that are tougher than knots.
Yeah.
You know, they just maybe that's just that area of the state or something. I don't know, but they've got good competition up there too.
Right,
So
right,
that makes a
and they moved to a different league now last year, but they're still Pittsville.
Yeah.
Now, I played them back in '91, and it was just, and we were snotty and aggressive back then, and they came down. They stayed at our place, and we played on a Saturday. And it was quite the Donnybrook. So they'll be fun to play again, you know.
I think that you've stepped up your non-conference competition from the first year that you were here.
Yeah, you know, and we should.
Yes.
Not always by design. Sometimes week 5 you
Yeah.
take who's there, you know.
Yep.
So
All right. And after Pittsville,
we played Parkview, and then Partyville, and then Montello, Princeton, Green Lake.
they improved significantly last year from the year before, didn't they?
Montello?
Yes.
Yeah. But
That's
now-
always such a. You're playing 3 schools.
Yeah, they not quite, but almost double our enrollment when you combine them.
Yeah.
Same with Eustisford, Horicon.
Yeah.
You know, they're about the same in the upper 300s, and we're at 220 something. But they have a new head coach now too, and their old head coach and I were pretty good friends. But it was time for him to retire, and they brought in somebody new. So we'll see. We don't know anything about them. So.
But later on in the season, you will.
Yeah, and at that point in time, it's, you know, and then we end up with Horicon Eustisford.
They're a tough team.
Oh yeah, yeah, they do a good job. They got kids, you know, they got a lot of kids that are enthused about playing now, you know, and they got a fair chance to win any game they step on the field with.
Yeah. All right. So, you have some goals?
Yeah, we do.
You want to share any?
Sure. I mean, we want to win our first game, we want to win our last game, and we want to win everything between it.
Yeah.
We, team as a whole, right now, and we're still looking, we've got about 14 kids that you would say right now are varsity players, and that's not quite where we need to be. We've got 5 or 6 that are working their way up, and if they get to, we get 3 or 4 of them to get to where they're productive on the field during crucial varsity time, that'll help our season. You know, if we rely on the 14 that we have, that'll be a long haul. You know, at some point in time, we're going to need those other kids, and so we got to develop them. We've got a few kids that are working on getting themselves eligible. We got a lot of stuff going on that could give us those kids, but so right now, like what we have, and you know, if we can have a good next 3 weeks, stay healthy and get a few kids developed, we could have a good season.
Yeah. I always am concerned about the line, but this year you've got those guys coming back who played last year. So I think that'll go a long way. I would think that will go a long ways to,
Yeah.
you know, helping out the season there.
Most important spot. Because they keep everybody else healthy and provide opportunity.
You know, people rave about the running backs, but they have to have a hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even a great wide receiver has to have a quarterback who gets time to throw. And
Yeah.
all of that stuff plays on how those linemen do. And if they get you 4.5 yards instead of 2.5 on an opening play, that can change the way you call plays. And
Right.
yeah, I mean, it all trickles around.
All right. Any last words?
Just excited to be here. I appreciate the opportunity the district has given me to continue coaching, and I've enjoyed every second I've been here at Dodgeland High School, and look forward to some more.
Well, good.
Good kids, and it's been a lot of fun.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.